In addition, providing housing subsidies that target those with the worst case housing needs. For example, people who experience chronic homelessness is probably warranted. In addition, studies have shown that for more disabled populations, for example, people with mental illnesses or substance use disorders, for these types of populations, access to permanent housing with supportive services is highly effective. And highly effective in preventing homelessness. This gives us basically an idea of who and what the risk factors might be, whether the individual-based risk factors or the system-based risk factors. And gives us some ideas of some strategies that have been developed, specifically targeting these communities to prevent homelessness from ever hitting them. Again, we have some states that have developed incentives, financial incentives specifically for those that have the ability to address the high risk population. We have some cases of states that have developed specific mandates for discharge from hospitals, from state hospitals, etc. But the key to all this is identifying where the problem is, identifying what segment of the population the homeless risk is inherent in, and then addressing those specific risks and developing strategies to nip homelessness before it hits. Now let's take a look at how homelessness affects spurs economic. I'm sorry, not how homelessness. How homelessness prevention spurs economic growth. In addition, helps employees and employers. So first of all, developing affordable housing would typically bring inflated housing costs down. By bringing down the inflated housing costs, we'd limit the average monthly housing expense. And by limiting the average monthly housing expense, we'd facilitate growth in consumer demand. This is a direct impact on a township or a neighborhood's employees, or a direct impact on a business's clients. It's a three-step process in facilitating growth in consumer demand. Number one is bringing inflated housing costs down. Number two is limiting the average monthly housing expense by bringing the inflated housing costs down. The average monthly housing expense is lowered. By bringing down the average monthly housing expense, or in general the cost of living, We'd facilitate a growth in consumer demand. People have more money to spend on our business's products. Our employees' cost of living is lowered. Now, how does it affect our business? So by bringing down the cost of living, by lowering the monthly housing expense, we bring down the cost of living. Right? The mortgage is lower, the rent is lower. Bringing down the cost of living would lower sustainable salary levels. Right? If I have to pay $5,000 a month for a studio apartment in Manhattan and my employer only gives me $500 a month salary, there's no way I could make it. But if we lower the monthly housing expense, where I'm only paying $250 a month for a studio apartment, and my employer pays me $500 a month, then that's a sustainable salary. By lowering sustainable salary levels, the business's operating costs are lowered. If the business operating costs are lowered, we can lower the prices we charge for our products. We lower the prices that we charge for our products, we can facilitate better client satisfaction and grow our business. So again, by bringing down inflatable housing costs through the use of affordable housing, we lower the neighborhood's monthly housing expense. Okay, if we lower the neighborhood's monthly housing expense, they have more money to buy our products. But it doesn't stop there. If we lower the neighborhood's monthly housing expense, not only does it give our clients the ability to buy our products, or not only does it grow the client's consumer demand, it brings down the cost of living for our employees. By bringing down the cost of living for our employees, we can lower sustainable salary levels. By lowering sustainable salary levels, we lower the business's operating costs. By lowering the business's operating costs, we have more flexibility in competitive pricing. If it costs us $5 to produce a bag of peanuts, overall, if we take into account the salaries and the shipping and the blah blah whatever might go into developing a bag of peanuts, if it costs us $5, the lowest we can go is $5, or we just lost money. But what about if we lower our employee's salary? And instead of the employee getting paid, let's say $3.50 to make a bag of peanuts, the employee gets paid $2.50. So now we just lowered the cost to develop a bag of peanuts from $5 to $4. We sell it at $5. We made a profit. There you go. Now, not only that, because it only costs us $4 to make the bag of peanuts, we can compete now and say, okay, the corner store next door sells a bag of peanuts for $5. We'll sell it for $4.50, and we'll still make money. And not only that, everybody's going to come to us. They'll be much more satisfied because they're getting the same bag of peanuts. And instead of paying $5 for it, they're coming to us and paying $4.50. That's how, so again, the first thing we need to do is focus on preventing homelessness. Focusing on preventing homelessness involves identifying the specific system and individual risk factors, system-based and individual risk factors that typically lead to homelessness. And we've taken a look at some of the best practice examples of strategies to nip homelessness in the bud. All these strategies, again, focus on the communities that possess the highest level of individual and system-based risk factors, and they address them where they are, and the strategies go and nip it in the bud. But in addition to preventing it, we need to provide housing. The housing itself is pretty critical. And by providing housing, by providing affordable housing, we have a direct positive impact on our employees and on our clients. Again, by providing affordable housing, we lower the cost of living. We lower the cost of living. There are two things. First of all, there's more consumer demand for our products because instead of somebody paying $20,000 a month for their mortgage, they're paying $500. So now they have some extra money to buy our products. In addition, we lower our own operating costs because instead of having to pay an employee at a level where at a sustainable level where they'd have to pay $20,000 for their mortgage, instead they're only paying $500 for their mortgage because the house isn't that expensive. By being able to lower by being able to provide employees sustainable salaries at lower levels, we lower our overall operating costs. By lowering our overall operating costs, we have two things. We have more flexibility in pricing, the pricing of our products, and by being able to lower the price of our products, we increase our client satisfaction. That's basically it for today. I'm going to open up the lines for questions and answers.